Now, I mean, talking about maturity in South African politics, obviously the country suffered a great loss with the passing of former President Nelson Mandela. And at the memorial service at the FNB Stadium, there was a lot of booing of President Jacob Zuma. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, actually, I disapproved of that myself, that kind of reaction. And I think I have a track record now of disapproval for that kind of thing, because our former president, Mr. Thabo Mbeki, was also treated like that. I saw him booed at a function where he was with the Prime Minister of India, Dr. Singh, in Durban, booed by ANC people, and even in Parliament here in Cape Town. Many times I warned that Mr. Mbeki, yes, is their leader, but they must also remember that he's a head of state. I don't think that it was politic myself to do that to the head of state in the presence of international heads of states.
And I mean, Prince Buthelezi, do you still stand by your motion of no vote of confidence in President Jacob Zuma?
Of course, I've not changed that.
And why is that?
Because I think he should have performed better than he has done. I think that I have no confidence because in the first place, I think that I said to him in Parliament that, if one has integrity, then anything else doesn't matter. And I don't see any leadership of integrity at present. Even 2 years ago, I remember that he promised that he was going to create 500,000 jobs, but in fact we lost 1 million jobs. And he keeps on making promises, because the government has done quite a number of things, but they've not been good enough. And in fact, we've been very disappointed in the sense that even the big budget that we have, which is coming to trillions now, then in spite of that, the money that is actually budgeted does not go to do exactly what it is budgeted for, because the money is mismanaged and stolen, at all levels, right from national government to provincial governments, right up to the municipalities. I mean, the Auditor General's report last year, when he says that only about 9 out of more than 200 municipalities have clean audits, I mean, you can see that the state of things is really parlous.
And I mean, talking about leadership, and I mean the ANC leadership being a bit shaky, as you said, mentioned some of the issues why they would be. What form of leadership do you think our country needs at the moment?
I think we need honest leadership. We need honest leadership. I said to Mr. Zuma in Parliament during the presidency vote, I said, I remember that in 1947 at San Francisco, General Jan Smuts, who was the Prime Minister of this country, at the launch of UNESCO, said that the native is as patient as an ass. I said, of course, that can be taken as derogatory, but it's true that we as black people have been very patient and are very patient. In other words, I said to him, it's no use, making unreal promises to our people, because if you make them face the situation as it is, they'll be patient. But for the government to promise them what they cannot deliver, I said, that's the big fault, and I said, you must refrain from that.
I mean, this patience that you talk about, is that not indicative of service delivery protests and booing of President Jacob Zuma? People have lost that patience. Is that not the case?
They say they're losing it, yes. Yes, I mean, those are symptoms, those are indications, in fact, that people are losing the patience that I'm talking about, yes. Because all those ructions that you are mentioning are actually happening in municipalities which are actually controlled by the ANC itself. So in other words, the uprisings are by ANC people themselves.
And I mean, considering all the abruptions that are happening, do you think there'll be any surprises in the upcoming elections, and what surprises would you kind of foresee?
As someone who's been in politics for more than 50 years, I know that when a liberation movement is portrayed as being the sole liberator of a country, let many people go with that sentiment for quite a long time, because I saw it with the Congress Party in India, for instance, where for many decades people just voted for the Congress Party in India and so on. But it later wears off, of course. And I think the wearing off, as far as I'm concerned, is starting now with our party.
Do you think there's also a problem with voter apathy and people not voting because they don't agree with the ANC, but they can't bring themselves to vote for anybody else, so they just don't vote?
I was shocked. 2 weeks ago, I did a door-to-door campaign in Umlazi Township. And I was amazed by the number of people, even of my own party, who were telling me that they haven't voted for years, for many years. There's a lot of voter apathy, and especially with young people too, the born freezers, they call them. One is very concerned about them because of the frustrations of being unemployed and so on. They say, what's the point? But I try to encourage them that, in fact, they should actually do the responsible thing, register to vote. During the weekend of the 8th and 9th, which is the last time, I urge South Africans, not necessarily because I see them as vote with me, but to actually exercise what we struggled for, because the struggle for liberation was actually about that vote, because we black people were excluded from deciding our destiny.